All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Nightlife. Episode 5 is in the bag. The Knights Templar, premiering on History Channel. Thank you for tuning in. I myself, I'm your host, Ben Sugarman. With me today, fresh off a live stream. This guy's blowing up on social media. We got Paul the Barbarian Friedel. It's good to have you back, man.
Well, fellas, good to hear you.
And of course, one of our favorites. He's a little stinky. I think I could smell him down here from Philly. But our very own Trash Night Ringo, as always, good to have you, buddy.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, so episode 5 just aired. So before we get into specifics, let's get an overall take. Paul, what was your overall thoughts on the episode?
I think the episode went well. I think there was some good fighting. There was some good technique in the episode and everything else like that. The fighters all put it out there on the field with no doubts in that at all. A lot of aggression out there. I just think it was a bit messy.
Yeah, I think that might be the running theme for this episode. But Ringo, you got any thoughts on the episode as a whole before we get nitty and gritty with it?
On a whole, a bit disappointed. I think it's the slowest episode we've had to date. I think the overall quality of fighting took a big hit, and I don't know. I was not as happy watching this as I've seen some of the others, but
Yeah, and I'll agree with that. This was definitely one of those episodes that we'll talk about it in the first round. Only had one-hander, so already some of the big highlight shots are not going to be there. You're going to see a lot more technical grappling, which is fine. It's a part of this sport, and it's probably one of the more important parts as well when you start to look at one-on-one fighting. But I mean, I was really kind of hoping John would get in there a lot more, start talking about a lot more technique. Because when we don't see those big shots, I would expect. I shouldn't say expect. I would love for him to go more in depth with some of the technique you see. But we can get into that as we discuss.
it's so fucking 6 man, every man for himself. It's so hard to even follow what's happening.
Mhm.
So like this is one of the things that's great about the big shots is even if you don't know what's going on, you can go, oh shit, that looked cool. Dude's on the ground writhing around.
Mhm.
But like if you don't have those big moments, just following it, like even if you know what you're looking for, it's super hard. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you don't even know where to look to try and figure it out. So it's just without it that the show there's some stuff that looks cool once you start knowing what to look for in a one-on-one grapple where it's two dudes just going their hardest at it. But like you have to know what you're looking for, and it has to be focused so that you can kind of follow it, and you can see the moments of someone finally getting the upper hand or it trading back and forth. You can't follow shit in this 6 man melee. So you need those big moments. You need that fucking ooh ah, and it just besides Dale was the fucking Dale show that first round, the first 2-3 rounds. He was the only one doing shit, and yeah, and other than that, it kind of I was like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm watching.
Right. Yeah. So we'll get into the round specifically. Let's run down the fighters that we saw in this episode. First, we saw Gary Hool, longtime Night Hall guy, the Murder Gnome himself. A little mad. We saw Trash Panda, but no Murder Gnome. A little bummed about that.
Drop the ball on the nickname there. Best nickname in the league.
Definitely.
One of the best.
Yeah, and I was racking my brain. I had to try and remember what his actual last name was because it was either Gary or Murder Gnome. But
Gary's my boy. I love him to death. He did some serious work.
He is probably
second. I mean, not to skip ahead, but that second round of fucking of the teams. Oh, I thought he won it for them.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get into that too.
But I'm sorry. I just got hyped.
Yeah, no, I feel it, and and I've said it to him before, and I'll stand by it. He's probably one of the show. I don't really think did him a lot of justice, but he's probably one of the few people I genuinely want to fight him in armor as opposed to out of armor because the guy's a fucking loon, and he's he would generally. Oh. Yeah, I'll let this statement stand for itself.
Okay, so we got Gary.
Yeah.
So we got Gary.
Yeah.
We got Dale. So we got Dale Saran.
Another longtime vet of the sport. I didn't realize how short he was too.
Yo, yeah, he's like 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
Dale is the fucking.
Speaking of a
comes
murder
with a
gnome.
nickname. Can't forget Dale Death from Below Saran. Let's throw his nickname out there too. On his
Yeah, definitely.
retirement episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Pour one out for the homie. But
Damn right.
so along that we had Rich Hurst, one of Gary's buddies from the Army. We're in Afghanistan and Iraq together. Good to see a little bit of vet talk in this sport. We also got first comer Carl Fisk, one of my Atlantic boys, showing up big. But yeah, it should be. I should say it a bunch of times. First time in armor. So just everything we say, these people have been doing it for years. First time in armor. Just keep that in the back of your head. And then we also got Scott Smithers. I didn't really catch the background on him. Did you guys catch? Was he another fencer or?
They didn't say. He said 28 years fighting, and based on the style and shit, yeah, it looks like an SCA, but
Okay.
yeah, but I have no fucking idea.
He definitely had a solid A-frame with that sword and board.
Yep.
Yeah.
That weird ass Pavis.
Yeah. Weird choice, but hey, go for it. And rounding it out, we got Aaron Say, another Atlantic boy out of New York. It's glad to see him on. He is really one of those. I felt bad for him. It was a lot of make the move on your own, but he really is one of those role guys that he's great when you give him a role, but coming through, he's not the guy to really win it for you. But it was good to see him on the show.
Yeah, it was good to see him. And I think I heard that's not his normal armor, and I think I heard something about him trying to fucking switch his armor right before he went out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's and if that's true, that might explain some of that, because that's just a bad call, putting on a whole new kit before you go out to the fucking biggest dance of your life.
Yeah, not really a great call. So
yes. So before we get into round specific shit, I've got something to say about all of this fighting and just a little bit of perspective to think about. All of us, most of us are used to fighting with a team. We're used to just being a part of a whole, like being one of 5 or one of 10 or something else like that. Most of these guys have never walked into a ring and gone, there's more than one person here that wants to hit me and I don't have anybody to back me up. And this is very evident in the first round fights. Everything kind of turns into the mess, and most of the guys have no idea where the hell to go, and they just get either hounded on, down, blocked, or it all turns into one-on-one fights. It's just a piece of perspective. Most of these dudes are not used to just being out there by themselves and having to fight 12 dudes that all want to hit them.
Yeah, and also our normal rules, you can't fucking get back up. So we've seen so many people who you put a dude down and then they just turn their back on him, not keeping up that dude potential. You got to do that calculation every second with this fight. When normally you put someone down, you can forget about them. So
right, it's very true, and it's going to be something interesting if season 2's picked up to see how. I think if season 2 comes out, we're going to start seeing these 6-man free-for-alls start to really ramp up in kind of the depth of the roster. I feel like it's going to get a lot better. People are going to be able to train for this, maybe listen to this podcast, and then get some tips on it.
I feel like I saw a video somewhere about how to survive the first round. I don't know where that could be, but
I have no idea where I could find.
Someone should watch that.
Yeah. Oh,
maybe someone should link that on their profile. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I think they should. We'll have to see if the people listen. But so moving in before we pat ourselves too much on the back, let's get into the rounds. Like we said, these initial rounds it was kind of really a mess. It really was a Dale show, but I want to give a shout out to Carl. We said it in the Cumby episode with the movement, but once again, he had some great movement, just straight up ducking an axe blow that was going straight for his head. Ducked in, got right
yeah,
back into
man.
the fight. It looked beautiful. Was there any sort of moments? We'll start with Ringo. Any moments that really stand out for you that you want to make sure get their due highlight?
Besides every fucking thing that that Dale did. No, that duck, I had that because I love me some level changes. So many fighters you don't see ducking. You might see a hinge at the hips, but you never see him squat, and it opens up so many new options. And like we can't do everything with it, obviously, because you can't throw a low shot or a low single or something because if you touch the ground, you're out.
Right.
But getting down low, getting under someone's, it offers you new angles. It causes them to miss. So I just love seeing another dude changing levels. That touched my heart in a special place. But no, there was no. So that's the thing. People did some work out there, but there were no highlights besides those big moments, right? When Dale hit fucking Rich and he stumbles, or Dale hit Aaron and he falls down. There's instead of like moments of someone doing well, all I really could like talk about was like Aaron's hesitancy, his refusal to get into the combat and looking for like only the perfect move. And that's not going to do any good for you.
Right.
Gary basically stayed tied up the whole fucking time, and like that's awesome if you got a dude who's gonna fucking chop a dude down for you. But when you're on your own, you got to get the fuck out. Especially he went in there. That shield he's got to be like 10 pounds. That is a massive fucking buckler that'll fucking drop a dude if you can punch with it. But you need to be free and have free movement so that you can come up on a dude and fucking clock him right in their off button. But like if they're standing in front of you, you got to swing these wide. And we saw it in the later on. They gave good a couple of close-ups on it. He's these wide looping punches that have to go around their entire fucking guard, and you're not going to get anything on that. So yeah, it was overall no highlights really stood out to me. No.
Like I'm looking at my notes right here. I'm looking at my notes right here, and like my highlights are really, Carl was super aggressive. Rich was super aggressive. Dale was putting on a clinic of keeping the field open, staying out of the clinch, dive, dip, dodge, and like duck out of shit. And basically I think he had a good couple axe blows that he laid in there that transition where he immediately ran out of the pocket after hitting a guy in the second round. I think he just dipped out. That was fucking perfect. Otherwise, like, I'm looking at Gary, and he put his back to the field a bunch. He got tied up a whole lot, and he got gassed out. Scott and Aaron, no offense, dudes, but I didn't see much out of you for the first 2 rounds for the first rounds, and I didn't really see anything out of you otherwise. Like, Aaron had a really good opportunity to come up and blindside somebody, and he didn't use the opportunity. He came up and he barely touched the guy and went for a grapple. Why didn't he just shield edge a dude in the side of the head and knock him flat?
That was Carl, and he actually came in on the run on that, and he puts the shield on him, but
he didn't transfer any of his force or any of his weight or anything. He didn't punch him.
I mean, part of that's Carl moved out of it, and yeah, there was definitely some technique lacking in that. But the real fucking problem is after he lands that, he gives up on it, right? So even with that light tap he had, Carl's still off balance, and you can finish that, but he didn't. He admittedly he just turned around and he the whole time he looked uncomfortable, and like Scott, and part of this was the editing, but we didn't even really see Scott in the picture until the fucking 4th round.
Right.
Yeah, agreeable. And I think the 3 guys that went out first, Dale, Carl, and Rich, were all perfectly chosen. They all did good work in the first 3 rounds of the Gray Melee. They were all aggressive. Dale was out in the field doing his thing, kicking ass. In the last round with Gary, Scott, and Aaron, Gary dealt with those 2 dudes. He got double teamed a whole bunch. Scott was gassed out after throwing a whole bunch of really soft falchion blows that really weren't doing much. As somebody swinging rattan, I know that you can lay a blow. I know that you have to hit somebody hard to make them take a fucking hit in those games. How the hell are you not throwing a flat snap or a down chop and breaking somebody's arm with that falchion? No excuses. Aaron, he went in and he punched and he tied up Gary, but he didn't do anything else. I think Aaron would have been better served to just void out Gary's block and just start punching him with that shield. He should have just held Gary's arm down and started punching him in the head. It's one thing I've been preaching to people. You don't get, like, hugs are stupid. Hugging up on somebody and putting an arm around their head and everything else like that, unless you're holding on to two dudes, you're useless. I want people to start putting Muay Thai clinches, putting their elbows in, voiding out a block, and then just using their other hand to punish people.
Yeah, it's a subtle art, but there really is an art to the grapple, and
it's
just straight
I'm preaching at the Baltimore Hawks.
Exactly. It's something that it's. Hopefully, we get a few videos on the site, kind of showing the intricacy. But if you can't get it, a lot of, like you said, the Muay Thai is great for it. Like, there's other MMA videos to watch. I highly suggest everyone go and watch it, because just straight up, like, at one time hugging was enough, but the sport's evolved. You can't. It doesn't cut it anymore. So
yeah, the number one rule of grappling: don't fucking grapple, you motherfuckers.
No, there's the right way to grapple.
Nope. The number one rule of grappling.
Screw you.
Number one
Ringo.
rule is if you can
get an arm around a man and throw a hip throw, like, put your leg in the way and do it efficiently and do it right then, so they can't hug you back. You are perfect.
Then you fucked up because you grappled. Number one rule of grappling: don't grapple.
Every time I grapple you, Ringo, you go to the floor.
Oh, shots fired. All right. We can see that. We can check the tape on that, but we'll see how that goes.
It sounds like the next episode.
One of those
times
fight. You told me you just sat down for no reason. You had no idea why. I'm like, yeah, it's because I grappled you. It's okay.
Yeah, pa. Point being, number one rule of grappling: don't do it.
Don't grapple.
And I think we can all agree, the fighters that went on to round 2 were kind of deserved. Moving on to round 2, we see the historical round come out, and it's the Knights Templar versus the Saracens, which...
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You got two army dudes who deployed to Afghanistan in fucking Crusader tabards. How much shit did they have to cut? That's what I want to know. How much fucking shit did they have to cut?
There's a reason why there's not a lot of talking between Gary and Rich on camera. Like, I have no doubt that was a constant stream of, like, just bleep to bleep to bleep to bleep.
I really hope there's, like, a behind the scenes for this, like, and they just, like, show a half hour of them just, like, with a can of dip, just shooting the shit, doing dumbass fucking comments.
The vets edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, the edition would be hysterical. I know if they did a blooper reel, it would just be me calling Brandon a pussy and telling him to man up.
Oh god.
Like, chainmail sucks, I know, but put it on, we got to fight with it. They're not letting us do anything else.
Like, I get that this has to be, like, family friendly, but, like, that's the shit I feel like people want to watch.
It's whatever.
All right, we're moving on.
I don't know what they said. Don't forget, Gary's the guy who will straight up murder a man. So,
like I said, it's what the people want to see.
Gary comes over and fucking knifes Dale and fucking Carl.
Let's talk about the gear out to round 2. Then that's it. But yeah, so
let's talk about the gear that they're given. They're given chainmail. The Templars are given straight swords. The Saracens are given scimitars. Scimitars are a different kind of sword than anybody's really used to, because nobody really uses curved blades in the sport as a single-handed weapon, because they're a lot harder to use. They don't use the same mechanics as swinging like a baton or a bat or anything else like that. It actually makes you move your muscles different, and you actually need to have training to move a curved sword correctly. And I have that training, and I used one when I was in Tennessee, and I literally ripped my whole arm out because I was throwing it like a straight blade, and it doesn't work the same.
Yeah, and that would have been. I would have loved to seen John hop in and start to really dive into the intricacies of it and say what exactly the difference are, like you just did. I felt like that would have been a great use for him, and it was a little bit of a missed opportunity.
That was John's moment. I don't know if he did it, but or I don't even know if he commented on it. I don't know if A&E or history cut it out there, but I got to say that I really would like to see John actually talk about technique for whatever he's lauded for. I'd like to see him actually like put it out there.
There were some bits in there where he was talking about the different ways that you strike and how and the edges and how the Saracen blade is gonna basically the false edge isn't really gonna be what you strike with, how it's gonna be slower. So there was a bit of it, but yeah, it would be nice to see a little more on how to throw it.
Like stupid. That's all really stupid, straightforward stuff because it is. Oh no! Come on.
I mean, don't forget, Paul. The people who are watching this probably don't fucking fight ever. So hey, the difference between nothing and one thing is that's a lot.
Okay, I mean, but at the same time,
I know too much about fighting.
To be fair,
Jesus.
Part of the prerequisites to see the show is that you have eyes. So if you see, hey, that's curved, hey, that's straight, I'd like a little more out of John then. But yeah.
So here's my big commentary on the gear. Chainmail sucks like heinously. It is heavy as hell. If you don't belt it right, which I don't think they actually belted any of them right. That's what I think drug Gary and Dale down in that second round of fights was the fact that their chainmail wasn't belted correctly. You need to be able to pick the chainmail up above the belt, secure it so it actually has weight riding on the belt instead of all of it pulling on your shoulders.
Right.
And the shields that were given, I really think the Templars had the better shields for punching because they have a corner in them. They can catch in a hole and gap them, and they can like actually push people with them things because it actually catches. Well, and the rounded edge shield the Saracens had just slide off and go off. They don't have a corner to catch on anything.
And while that's great,
it's a little bit more of a.
I have like one point of order which kind of really pissed me off is that as soon as round one started, Gary's shield was already off. And I don't mean like in round two when he threw it. I mean the strap going to his forearm was just fucking not there. Like he was fighting that whole thing without a shield.
They didn't strap him right. And realistically, looking at that, the way that they were strapped, they wanted to put that tighter. There was a loose leather grip for their hands that looked like. And for what we do, you don't want that. You want something tight and rigid so that there's no give when you make that contact, which is probably not what you'd want in real combat, but that's in what we do where it's more offensive than defensive, and the defense is sort of your bonus points. Yeah, no, you get that hard ridge, so when you throw that punch and you get that point in someone's face, it doesn't just go back into your hand.
Right. Yeah.
Now, past the equipment, now let's actually talk about the men that are actually fighting in the two teams. Gary and Rich are both battle buddies. They've been overseas together. They've got really good teamwork together. They're also both very physical men. They've got more strength, I feel, as a team. Rich is a big dude. He picks shit up. He throws things around. And they've got capes. Dale and Gary and Rich are battle buddies. Dale and Carl are donut bros.
Well, and
Dale
actually,
said,
on that, I was a little disappointed because, when we see them armoring up, you see Rich and Gary start to talk about their plan. Their plan was isolate Carl. He's the new guy. We can take him out quick. When you actually saw the fight, they just went in they took their man, they squared up, and they really didn't follow through on their plan, which was a little disappointing because I felt like it was a good plan. Just isolate him, trying to get the 2-on-1. But, I would have liked to see a little more teamwork out of them. I think the only one was when Gary just threw away all of his weapons and just wanted to just shoulder tackle Carl there.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Oh, that was beautiful, though.
It was.
I will say that this second round of fights just turned into two 1v1 fights until someone went down, and then it turned into a 2-on-1 fight, except for the fact that both Dale and Gary were completely gassed. Yes. Like, they were just they were huffing and puffing through the whole thing. Rich and Carl stayed up. They stayed aggressive. They were doing the thing. I do believe Dale and Carl both have better cardio. purely because Dale has been doing CrossFit like a nut for fucking ever. And Carl youthful exuberance, kind of thing. And I'm really surprised at how well Carl fought in the round.
Yeah, he really did fight well.
And to give him credit, but also to take away credit, he has more training than any other rookie has ever had coming into this sport. No matter like other than people like coming in from like rattan fighting in the SCA and everything else like that, they still don't have nearly as much training as Carl does, being a fight choreographer and doing weapons training otherwise. And we see that in the next round. But going back to the second round, both the Templars splitting up and trying to hem in Dale and Carl. Not the worst plan in the world. I think they shouldn't have split up. I think they should have just beeline for Carl, knocked his ass straight out, and then dealt with Dale. And seeing how the tape played out, they could have easily dealt with Dale if they had knocked Carl straight out and just pummeled him into the dirt. They could have dealt with Dale, tired Dale out, and then when Carl got back up, they just jumped back on him like a pack of wolves.
I mean, you hear Jay Riso talking about it the whole time. Dale basically would leave Carl out to dry every once in a while. And it makes sense for the way he's used to fighting. He's used to being a slick fighter who comes in and he gets that trip on you, or he's got that heavy axe. So as soon as you give him your back, so he normally wants to stay out. Normally that's where he should be playing, but he didn't adjust his game because in this game he doesn't have that, and he needs to be there to protect his buddy, and he wasn't. He was just out of the fight. He looked like Aaron from the last round.
Yeah.
So
and at the end of the first round, Andre makes the comment that none of Rich's actual strikes were extremely destructive. I'm like, what strikes would you like him to be destructive with a single-handed arm ace? Please tell me what you would like to see be more destructive about that. I'm like, I understand a punch, knocking a guy out with a punch or like battering a guy down with punches makes sense. It's perfectly fine. But with sword blows, come on, dudes. Even with chainmail, it's really hard to hurt somebody with like single-handed weapons.
I think what you wanted to see was Rich flip the blade over and then start using it like a pickaxe with the fucking.
Yeah, well, we can't do that.
Yeah.
That's a good question, actually.
Yeah,
what?
and
while
could
you
we're
turn
talking
around
about
this murder?
Yeah. So I'm curious. Do you guys agree with the judges' call of who made it to the third round?
I do not, but I'm a little. For this one, I'm not too upset, but I'm a little upset by it. The first round, I don't really have a strong winner. But in the second round, when Gary throws his shield down and then switches hands and goes in, he's landing punches. He's controlling that fight, and he's actually still getting what look like pretty decently. They're edge on. There's looks like there's good contact with those sword blows he's throwing. So he actually came in and brought the aggression. They get some takedowns in that second round. I really thought that they did enough to pull it out, and it looked to me like they were mostly dominant in that second round. So I was kind of and the first round kind of was a toss up to me. So I gave it to Rich and Gary.
When did Gary fully tackle Dale?
I was in the first round.
That's the first round. He comes in, tackles. But they got another takedown or two in the end of the second round. Though the one standout to that was that fucking epic punch Carl has right to Gary's gut, and you just see Gary collapse.
No, yeah.
Yeah, that was. I think that was the real telling blow, is that Carl made Gary just take a knee immediately. The thing about Gary's full tackle, I actually think that probably hurt Gary just as much as it hurt Dale. Just running and tackling and jumping on a dude, just having your weight falling on top of another man, I really think that knocked the wind out of him, because he's not wearing rigid plate armor. He's wearing soft chainmail that gives.
Yeah,
I think that actually more of the wind out of Gary and hurt him worse because he didn't get up off the ground.
Yeah,
at the end of that Like,
I'm curious what you guys think about this, because when you break it down and when we're talking about it, the trend was Carl's output enough to make up for Rich and Gary's output? Because Dale was kind of a no factor in it, or at least through the editing, we couldn't see a lot of what he did. So at this point, then I'm curious: can one fighter make up the whole team, or do you judge the team based off like both of these two were good as opposed to the one that was really good? And it seems like they picked Carl, who was just really good, as opposed to the two teams that I think as a team performed better.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if the one guy if the one star shows up, that might be enough. I mean, one of the things that we have to think about, right, is you're watching it live, so you feel the energy. You only have a couple minutes to make the decision. And one of the things that I've noticed that happens when we watch fighting is that we'll start to see a narrative, we'll see something happen, and then we'll start telling ourselves that we see more of it. And it's one of the reasons I started doing stats is I would go do the stats, and they wouldn't at all reflect what we would tell ourselves about what happened.
yeah,
And part of that was because once you start vocalizing that narrative, you believe it. And so it becomes very difficult watching these, trying to comment on them, because don't forget they're being the commentators while they're being the judges, and then try to at the end come to make that decision. And they don't have access to instant replays. They don't have the slow-mos and shit we get to see. They do. They don't.
They have no. Every time they cut away, they are pointing at a screen in front of them. Like,
Okay.
You look at them while they're talking about stuff. You've seen them point at something in front of them. I do believe they have a screen replaying the blows through them.
I think they're pointing at the field.
No, they're
it looks like it's off to the side.
desk.
I mean, maybe it doesn't look like they had.
They're pointing
screen.
down toward. I think they're pointing down towards the desk that's in front of them.
It did not look like they had a screen on it. And if they did, I mean, they're having to render video right away, and then from like multiple different angles. And like, it's not, the production team is designed to do post production. This isn't a sports production team, so it's not like you're sitting in the booth, fucking John Madden style, pulling up. Oh, I want to see the camera that was on the left tackle.
Yeah.
So maybe they have some sort of video, but if they do, I would be very surprised if it being up to any sort of like level of what we're seeing right now with the slow-mos and the the different angles.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I would like to see for the second season.
Yeah, but my overall point just
have anybody at the same time they don't have camera angles cutting off the rest of the fight.
That's true. But my overall point is just that when you're making that choice, you're very easily to get caught up in your own emotions of it in ways that we would like them to not be, and they're not isolated enough to be able to do that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they see something. For example, I wouldn't be surprised if they watched that and all in their heads they have Dale's first 3 rounds of badassery and they're still thinking about that. So, even like he might have, not shown up, but they're like, maybe he showed up a little bit more than we thought he did because we're still remembering that stuff. So
right.
It's it's a very hard thing to do, to be that objective, especially while you're trying to vocalize a narrative for consumers.
Right. And we want to clarify too. We don't think there's a winner going into the round. They are fighting every single round. The judges aren't biased. Yeah, it's very much, once you get it in your head. I mean, and you see it with everything. How many times do we hear, commentators just gargle over Tom Brady and, Aaron Rodgers and all these guys when really they're playing like shit. Like, you have a narrative, you have it in your head based on what you see, and it's just human nature to kind of commentate on it. But I think we're all kind of in agreement that, we'd like to see some more angles, but I think it wasn't a bad call to have Carl and Dale go to the last round. It really was kind of a toss up because I really do think it's the question: does one fighter overcome the whole team that might have been maybe performing as well? But it's one of those difference of opinions. They went with the single fighter. I would have went with the team, but that's why I guess they get paid the big bucks or
Yeah,
do whatever.
and
But
it was close enough. It was obviously close enough that it was still a toss up. Neither team did enough to leave it and make it obvious, and that's what you need to do. You need to make it obvious, and when you don't, well, shit happens.
Yeah, and
speaking, you leave it in the hands of the judges.
Yeah. And when you want to be in good hands, it's always important to remember this is a great segue for our first sponsor of the podcast. Absolutely no one. If you know sponsors, please hit me up. Anyway, moving on to round three. Moving on to round three, we got Dale and Carl advance. Two-handed falchion is going to be the weapon for the duels. I like this choice. It's a good weapon. What's that?
The Grossmesser or the Gross Sibel. Like, I don't know how many times they could have called it something else.
I like the great knife. I had never heard that one before, but that's all I'm going to call it from now on. It's a great knife.
Great knife. Yeah, it's a great knife.
That knife is great, dude.
Yeah, look at that, man.
It's a great knife.
It's a great knife. Okay.
Right. Yeah, this show is giving me so many more names for so many other weapons.
John just gives us great lexicons of information.
Yeah. Still got the rum fire from your episode.
Yeah, the rum files.
Yeah.
Carl and Dale. Dale is stronger than Carl. Carl is youthful and has more gas tank than Dale will ever have in his lifetime.
And just from the armoring bits, Carl has the advantage on technique too. He looked damn good when he was practicing.
100%.
I don't think Dale ever really picks up a two-handed sword.
No, I've never seen him. He's fought with a variety of poles, and he's fought singles before, but with a pole weapon, which is weird to me that during the fighting, they were talking about Dale having more experience, and I'm like, Carl trains with long swords all the time. A long sword to a great falchion, that's basically the same thing. You just can't thrust. And Dale's using this completely foreign tool, and John Clemens is like, yeah, no, he'll definitely have the experience. He uses two-handed weapons all the time. I'm like, John, you picked up an axe, right? John. You know they don't swing the same, right?
John. Come on, he knows.
It definitely, the way that John picked up that two-handed axe makes me giggle still.
Yeah, and when we were watching that armoring section, and Carl's going through a variety of different strikes, we see him throw overhands, we see him throw the underhand. He's clearly learned like a variety of different. He throws the back edge, a variety of different strikes. He's moving with it, very comfortable in different angles, different defenses, different guards, and Dale throws the same strike, which I'm pretty sure they taught him right then.
Yeah.
He throws the same shot. And you see he's trying to perfect this power generation on this heavy shot, which he did use effectively that one time.
Oh yeah.
You need more than one shot. you gotta have.
The strike that Dale was using is actually from a hanging guard, which is mainly to stop a downward strike and then to transition straight into a blow to the side of the head. Dale was doing a thing that actually would make sense in a big knife fight. The hanging guard directly to the flat snap to the flat snap offside that he's throwing actually does make sense, and he did throw it real good. But I think Carl had the better handle of it because of exactly what he said. Your forward hand is your fulcrum, and your backhand is the lever. And it's a longer handled great sword compared to the long swords that we use, like the hand and a half swords that we use for long sword fights, which you have no other way of, you have no space in between your hands. It's not that long a handle. It's only big enough to fit your two gauntlets on, and that's it. And the fact that Carl was able to understand that, and he's like, you snap the tip around with your backhand pulling and your front hand pushing, and you put the tip speed that much faster. And I think that's one thing that Carl has in his brain that was like, okay, dude, you know how to use this fucking weapon, do it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've seen,
And
fight choreography with these movies, but they're not throwing 1 or 2 shots. So I know he knows how to work it and get a few shots in.
No doubt at all. And to come back to this and talk, and no more to put more of a feather in Carl's cap than anything else, but he does have more training than any other rookie that's ever been in that I've ever seen come into the sport.
Yeah.
So, he definitely came in. He came in with a leg up on a lot of other guys, and in particular, this round is where it showed and paid off. A lot of the other rounds were just having very good athleticism. The dude is an athlete. He has great balance, great strength, great endurance, and there's some of that he's been in fights playing, knowing to look around, but he looked a little lost there too. This is the first time in that episode I saw him look really comfortable. He looked like he was like, yeah, no, this is a fight. I'm just gonna go out there.
Yeah, and I gotta say that's probably one of the best actual sword techniques I've seen in this series so far. Just his parrying and then the glancing blows to transition into a shot was it looked like a movie. It was just picture perfect. It was awesome to see, and I really think that's what really gave him the advantage over Dale, because Dale got that one shot that we said, hard shot, but I mean otherwise he's getting a lot of glancing blows. And I don't want to discount Dale. He did have some good blows in there too, but I feel like Carl really had that mastery of the weapon, and anyone can see that.
To me, it came down to, did they count the solid blows more, or did they count the number of blows more? Because that one they focused on was the only solid blow that I remember being like, oh man, that landed nice. There was, in the first round, there was a trade where Dale, I believe, hits Carl in the helmet, and Carl hits him maybe in the gut or somewhere in the arm. But those were solid and edge-on, clean strikes. But I think they were both sort of preparing to receive the strike, and so didn't drive all the way through. Or maybe it was just the angle.
Yeah,
but
I think the big telling thing for them was not the fact that Dale threw an ever-living bunch of blows. I think it's because and John mentioned it. He's like, Carl blocked and deflected blows that Dale was throwing. So, defense is one of the things.
Yep.
Yeah, defense definitely is one of the things. Maybe I missed some of the stuff because they were talking about it mostly, it seemed, in the second round, but to me, especially the highlight they showed in the playback, John says that you were very defensive, and they show a replay of him blocking a bunch of blows, and then Andre says to Dale, you were very tired, and they show a replay of Carl throwing 10 blows directly into Dale's guard, and I'm like, you guys just showed the same replay they reversed the roles. Why is one negative and why is one positive? And so maybe I'm missing some of the stuff that Carl was catching, but I think they overweighed that defense a little bit. That said, I'm still not mad at it because Carl had a cleaner takedown than Dale, and he landed more blows. They weren't hit overall. There were a lot of ones they were like, that was a heavy blow, and it was kind of rolling. It didn't quite land edge on, or maybe it was just the tip and it kind of pulled away at the last moment. There were a couple that were like that, but he still landed more. He still seemed to control the fight, control the pace.
Right.
Dale wanted to back up. He wanted to try and play a different game, but I don't think he was able to. So
yeah, and
Carl was just pushing, and he maintained the pace of the fight. And I think he had a good meter for it and kept Dale on the back foot, and Dale wasn't able to come back with any kind of offensive capability other than walking around him and trying to hit him.
Right, and
he didn't have any other thing.
And real quick, it was really weird. Did you guys pick up the audio for that last round? and like some of the
I
it was
don't want to talk about it.
weird.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
I'm just gonna chalk it up to
all
maybe
those-
something that got past them, but like the audio was a little
all the
garbled.
grunts.
Like yeah. Oh no, I'm
It-
talking about
well-
like Andre's audio.
Oh no, I didn't have that. I thought you meant all the like they added all these weird
Yeah.
grunts that I'm like, you already added a bunch of stuff on the fucking the sword swing.
I mean,
Did you have to add the grunts?
Yeah, it was very very weird. Like of course the fighting's the fighting, and that's what really we're here for. But it really just kind of took me out of it for a little. I was like, what? It's almost like they forgot some audio and called him on a cell phone. We're like, here, like say it. Like it just kind of got really garbled. But
like, do you mean during the fight, like while they were fighting?
Yeah, during the fight.
Yeah, no, I remember that. It's definitely seemed like it was recorded in a different room. Like the sound quality was just different.
Yeah, it was something strange, but probably just some background noises. It couldn't equalize right, and it just sounded.
Or they just had him. Yeah, they might have had him, try to re-record it or something, and it didn't go well. I don't.
Yeah, we'll chalk that up to production, but even still, some of the edit, like that, the last, I kind of go back and forth because we want to have them, like we said, they're cramming a lot into these episodes. We want to see more, personalities develop from the fighters, and I think we've really seen it these past 2 or 3 episodes. These final fights, like the final rounds, it just feels really short and rushed. Like, I don't know if it's just me. I feel like the end is just really rushed. Because I look at the clock, and there's about 10 minutes left before you really run up against the clock. And, I would love to see more time dedicated to these final 2. I mean, these are your final 2. This is the cream of the crop, and I would love to see a lot more time dedicated to the fight itself. Even take some out of the training beforehand. They're not getting showed the technique behind it. So I would love to cut down on the armoring time and just show more fight.
Yeah, it's one of the weird things. Sorry, you go ahead.
I think they're trying to show more. I think they're trying to show more of the competitors and like let them talk a little bit more and showing more of like their speaking segments and them talking about stuff. I don't know if they're really trying to cram in that much, or if all the commercials are getting longer or what. But it does feel rushed, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there's a lot of stuff to what they filmed. And they I don't remember, they only showed a couple of the smashy things this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think they cut down on that. They filmed so much material and trying to figure out what to show and what not to. It's gotta be hard.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that gets me is what I really want to see. I want to see the fight from whatever the best angle that catches the most stuff is, maybe 2 angles at most, straight through, and then I want to see cuts and highlights and stuff like that. Like I want to see.
Working on it.
But
already working on it.
No, I know, but I'm just saying like that. How do you fit that in time wise, right? Because now you're basically saying we're gonna double the time of every round. We'll watch it once and then let's watch it again. And like so that adds like another 15 minutes to your view time.
Yeah.
So and like this is my dream scenario because I'll watch fighting all day long, but like I get that it's part of the reason it's so rushed is there's so much fucking shit.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, and now getting into Dream Wish land, but I would love to see it start to really go the way of a sport and less of a just contestant show that they have on History, like Force and Fire, where you have a lot of these, post interviews. I'd love to see a lot more interviews in the ring with the judges talking to them, as opposed to these, one-on-ones where they can get the lighting right and they're sitting down. I'd love to see a lot more of that and less, like I was talking about. Because, I mean, if you want to show the personality, I don't think the best way is to have them, because it almost feels a little forced when they go back and have that one-on-one. I'd love to see him in the ring, talk to, you got Christian on. Have him interact with them. I mean, come on, utilize him.
Have him cut a promo. Have him cut a
Exactly.
promo right there.
Yeah.
No, so
Oh, God.
I'm of two minds on this. On the one hand, I'm like, yeah, let's make it more sport like. Let's focus less on the this is its own competition and try to make this the highlight of the sport we do. But on the other hand, I'm like, I would love to watch this as more of a Ultimate Fighter type show where you get the same people on for a whole season and we get to know those people.
Yes.
But
Yes. I didn't even think about that.
I don't know.
Yes.
But again, I'm also a reality TV junkie, so or I used to be, not anymore. But like I love me some drama.
But
So
then again,
maybe
you
I'm
think
not the
about
best one
you
to
think
ask.
about all of us in there. Like we all know each other. We all there'd have to be some like producer ear talk to get us to actually fight with each other. Because otherwise it'd just be us getting drunk and actually
and then
wanted to,
fighting
like-
each other.
Yeah. Okay.
Like that time
It'd be
you
a
got
whole
your
lot of shenanigans. It would be more of a spoof comedy fun show and then some fighting. I really think that our fighting sells it enough and speaks enough for itself that you don't need to have the drama, dude.
Yeah, and even drama's not the right.
and
It just needs to be like a drinking frat house, but then ends up going to the list every once in a while because that's what it would be.
I mean, like, most of the Ultimate Fighters didn't have that much drama, right? Like, every once in a while, some dude would be like, but most of it was like, hey, is he going to cut weight? That's the drama is the fighting, right? The drama is this
That's
is a tough
true.
motherfucker.
Yeah, that's true.
What's the toll take on your head? And we got this. Well, I mean, we have a different thing, but a similar thing.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
I want to go back to the third round because there's one bit of technique that I saw that I wanted to comment on and we didn't. And that's you saw both of the fighters when they would get into that bind. Actually, Carl did it from outside the bind. They would take their hand off one of the hands off of the pommel, and they're trying to reach for their opponent's weapon. And that's, I think, an underutilized technique in singles. Definitely underutilized in a non-counted blows game where you can reach out and take control of your opponent's weapon. And if you're into the HEMA aspect, there are numerous really cool techniques on how you can strip your opponent's weapon, or like turn it into a sweet throw. And that's where you're getting your grappling plus your striking at the same time. That's what you want to see, where you reach out, get that quick down, make your move, and get the fuck out. And neither of them were able to pull it off, but just seeing them start to try it, it was really neat. And hopefully we see more opponents start to work that in.
Yeah,
that's been another thing that I've been preaching to people, because people coming into the sport, they're like, I want to use this two-handed X. I want to use this two-handed X. I put them in a ring. I give them a two-handed X, and they get in the grapple, and they just hold on to the two-handed X with both hands, and somebody else gets it voided down, and they don't do anything about it. I'm like, if he has a hold of your axe, let go with one hand. You're still holding on to the axe if you've got it in one hand. Use that other hand to get out and void them, or start punching them in the head. I'm like, look, if you get a guy that's got a two-handed axe and he's got both his hands on his axe and you got him against the rail, next thing you need to do is stuff his hand down, void all of his weapons out of the way, clear his head, start punching him in the face. That should be immediately what you're doing, and then working a leg in to get the pull the heel click and then shove him. I'm like, why are you putting two hands on that damn weapon?
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, too many people, they get locked to it. And like the punch to the face is the best grapple defense there is. Just get them a little rattled, and then work your way out after that.
Yeah.
So like but seeing people, it was really neat seeing them both start to not only use the weapon, but also, because that's the problem. You'll either use the weapon or you'll use your body. You don't see people mix the two together. And that's the top end of the sport, when you and the weapon are one. And so seeing them start to hit that peak was just really neat to me.
Yeah. And
one thing everybody has to remember in the sport is that you are the weapon, for one. For two, the weapon that you have in your hand is just another tool for you as the weapon to use.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I think we're all in agreement that, Carl was a winner of that one. Dale put up a good fight, but Carl had better technique. He landed more strikes
It,
and just overall seemed like the better fighter. So just want to give congratulations to Carl as we close it up. Are there any final points you want to kind of make before we take this on home, guys?
it really hurt my heart when Dale said that that was going to be his retirement fight. I
Yeah.
love Dale.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I was not
Dale,
at
I miss
all
you, bud.
psyched.
I miss you, buddy. I
Yeah.
want to hang out.
Well, hopefully that's not the last him coming to an event. Hopefully he's still at a lot more
Nah,
events and we
man,
still
he's
see
our
him
lawyer.
out. What's that?
He's our lawyer. He has to come to events.
Okay, well then let me put it another way then. I hope I don't see you ever again. Cuz that means I'm losing money some way. But
We just got to go in Arizona. He'll be at FitCon in Salt Lake City. Everybody should go to Salt Lake City and go to FitCon and see us at FitCon.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a great event. Can't wait to see everyone at FitCon. I'm personally very excited for the event. So Ringo, any last comments before we bring it on back?
Watch next week's episode. It's gonna be the best episode.
Oh,
Shots
all
fired.
right then.
Sure.
All right. So
I hope you knock somebody. I hope you knock somebody on their back at the last end of the round.
I did see some of the commercials, and I'm very excited for some of the fighters that are on your episode. So
Yeah, I'm excited.
yeah, if
I'm
you've
excited for
seen
one of
this one, you definitely tune in.
It's
for
not
the
me.
next
It's the pretty.
one. What? All right.
It's
Anyway,
not-
before
I'm
we start,
excited
all right, we're getting
Hey,
too out of this.
Hey,
So.
everybody out there in YouTube land, hit us up on at YouTube at the Nightlife. Check out Ringo's videos. Check out Ben's videos. They're doing really good work. Hit me up at Paul the Barbarian Friedel on Facebook and Instagram. Hit us all up. We're all trying to put out some good content. If you're new into the sport, there's multiple videos on the Nightlife that are going to put you in a better idea on how to get started in the sport and the mentality you really need to have about this. We're out there to do violence. We're out there to be vicious. Let's get vicious or get out. Understand that.
Yeah, that's a great little segue, Paul. Appreciate it. And also for some future events you can check out. Like Paul said, we're going to be uploading videos. We try every week, but, schedules are schedules, and this isn't our full-time job. But you can tune in every Thursday and catch our recap of the Night Fight episode of the week. Also, we're very happy to announce that we will be covering a Night Fight event at the Knights Hall on March 16th. It's going to be a fucking amazing... Ringo, correct if I'm wrong, we're still waiting on some entrants to see who exactly is going to be fighting. We don't have a card published yet.
The card is still to be determined, but we're seeing some high level fighters together on that card, and so I won't guarantee it's going to be the best one yet, but there is a good chance of it. So.
And of course,
I'll
it'll
get
be the best one that you can actually catch online because we will be covering it. We're going to be testing out a new setup we're going to have with our streaming capabilities. The geek in me is very excited, so hope all you enjoy it. It's a product that we really hope you enjoy and keep watching. But with that, I want to thank Paul. I want to thank Ringo. I want to thank you both for spending the night here with me. As we bring it on, it's getting a little late here on the East Coast. So we're going to wrap this up. Thank you again for tuning into the Nightlife, and we look forward to seeing you another day. Take care, y'all.